Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Albar Maulana and I am an English literature student from Faculty of Language and Literature, UNM. Today, I will explain my thesis proposal with the title Analysis of Racism in the novel The Hate to Give by Angie Thomas. My first advisor is Prof. Sukabiweda. Okay, so in this presentation, I have prepared the materials with chapter 1 until chapter 3. Let's start the chapter 1 of my thesis, the introduction. The first is the background. Race is a grouping system that divides people from their common appearances like physically, such as the same color of skin. Today's definition of race is not only about the differences of biologically physical characteristics between human groups, rather it became a social standard that human created. The victim who get the most racist treatment are black people. Generally, black people are seen as unattractive, and even long before back in times, black people were considered as animals. Until now, black people still get discrimination, and racism mostly occurs in predominantly white countries, such as the United States. In Indonesia too, although it is not a white majority country, the issue of racism has occurred recently, where a group of people in Java killed some Papuans with the word monkey. The mindset and prejudice of negative things related to black skin still seems to be a lot today. Racism experienced by black people has led to many movements and protests aimed at protecting black people from the discrimination. There is a movement called Black Lives Matter, which became an inspiration for Angie Thomas to write the novel The Hate to Give. I choose this novel because it gives pictures of the common things of racism that happened so many times in the US for a long time until today. So I have prepared two research questions for this thesis. One is how racism is portrayed in the novel The Hate to Give. And the second is how the problem of racism that occurs in the novel The Hate to Give is overcome. The objectives of the research is to explain what kinds of the racism that is portrayed in the novel The Hate to Give, and next is to describe how the problem of racism in the novel The Hate to Give is overcome. The significance of the research. There are two significance of the research. First one is academical benefit. This research is expected to provide understanding to readers about racial discrimination and the condition of people who experience violence. This research is also expected to be a reference for students in the literature field, and also can be a good references especially for the student in Faculty of Language and Literature in UNM. And the second benefit is social benefit. This research is expected to make more concerned about others regardless of their appearance or their race or any aspect. Okay, now we move to chapter 2 of my thesis, theoretical background. First up is novel. A novel is relatively long work of narrative fiction, normally written in prose or prose form, and which is typically published as a book. According to Nurgiantoro, the elements of novel are two types: the intrinsic elements and also the extrinsic element. The intrinsic element, there are theme, plot, characters and characterization, settings, point of view, language style, and moral value. While the extrinsic elements of novel is kind of like you won't find it in the novel. It's not written in the novel, but instead you you uh, you will get it implicitly, like the writer backgrounds and the society backgrounds. And I will give some highlights of the novel synopsis. So, this novel tells about the struggle of a black people girl named Star Carter who fights for justice for her friend who was shot to death by white police for no reason. Um, she faces many obstacles, not only in her neighborhood but also in her school. Her family always supports whatever the action she takes. Her struggle comes to a climax when a court is held to decide the punishment for the police. At the end of the story, Star promises her friend uh, that she will not remain silent and will always fight against injustice. And now the racism. So racism, according to Oliver C. Cox, states that racism can it is an event, a situation that assesses various actions and values in a group based on its cultural perspective, which views all social values of other society outside themselves as wrong and unacceptable. In analyzing the novel, I will use the mimetic theory as a theoretical basis. Uh, Mimetic theory, according to Abrams, is a review of literary studies that emphasize the study of the relationship of literary works with reality outside of literary works. So basically, this is an approach that views literary works as an imitation and reality. So here is my theoretical framework. The chart gives a detailed description of the study. In this research, I've learned more about mimetic theory, and study will be focused in racism and the novel. And now we move on to the chapter 3, research method. The first is research design. In analyzing the data, I will use qualitative method. Qualitative research is descriptive research and tends to use analysis process and meaning are emphasized more on or qualitative research. The theoretical basis is used as a guide so that the research focus is in accordance with the facts in the field. The next is source of data. There are two types source of data that I used in this research. They are the first is primary data, which the novel The Hate You Give, written by Angie Thomas, and the second is the secondary data, which taken from various sources like articles, journal, theses, and books. The next is procedure of data collection. The first thing I will do is read the novel carefully and repeat it until I fully understand with the content and context. And then I will classify and collect the content and context that related to racism. I will also take a note and write them down. The last is technique of data analysis. In analyzing the data, I will analyze the novel carefully and determine what are found in the novel. I will identify all the data that related with racism on the novel. Then I will present the data found after rechecking it. And last, I will put the result into a thesis form.